Contact us to avail the combo offer of General Studies and Public Administration optional with 20% discount.
Insolvency and bankruptcy code. Some economy related topics we'll discuss. Yes, this is important. This was in news. Why it was in news recently? Why we are discussing this? IBC was recently in news because one amendment is passed in the parliament, right?
Yes, sir. Recently, the bill was passed by the parliament. Previously, it does not have the power to do insolvency code.
Yes. So there was one amendment to this code. First of all, what we'll do is understand the working of this IBC, and then we'll understand its significance, benefits for Indian economy, and then we'll talk about the problems. Okay, this is very traditional question that we are expecting. Up till now, there was no question directly on IBC and how it has improved India's business environment. Okay, so yes, basics about IBC. So this insolvency and bankruptcy code was introduced in 2016 by amending 11 such earlier laws in the country. Okay, so before 2016, companies and individual proprietors, the insolvency proceedings of these companies were under different laws. Like for companies or corporates, the insolvency proceedings were carried out under company law and Company Act or Sarfazi Act. Okay, or for individuals, there were different insolvency acts during the British time period. They were continued even after independence. Okay, so there were many such laws, and there was no one code, uniform code or uniform law for such insolvency. And because of that, insolvency proceedings in the country were not at all streamlined. At the same time, the problem was that the insolvency proceedings were largely favorable to the debtors and defaulters, willful defaulters, and not favorable to the creditors, that is banks or financial institutions. And because of this, there was mounting gross national, non-performing assets, NPAs. Okay, and this had created some kind of pressure on the government to bring reforms in this particular sector, and therefore the present day government at that time launched this IBC, Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code. Okay, let us understand some basic terminologies first. Many times economy related topics, some students find it very difficult to understand. Okay, and that too the such technical words like insolvency, bankruptcy, and who are the promoters, who are the creditors or debtors, all these aspects. First of all, basic terminology. Insolvency or insolvent. Who is the insolvent? Okay, so many times a company, when it borrows or take a loan from the creditor or bank, it is not able to repay the installments or let's say the amount of loan, right? So that person or that company, that entity becomes insolvent. Okay, that entity becomes insolvent. Now what is bankruptcy? What is bankruptcy? Whenever that insolvent is declared bankrupt by any legal entity like court, suppose any court declares the particular company as we can say insolvent, then that is called as bankruptcy or bankrupt. That then we will say that that company has gone bankrupt or that person has gone bankrupt. Okay, so such kind of legal declaration by the court or any authority, tribunal is required. Okay, this is insolvency and bankruptcy. Now there are some terminologies like liquidation or resolution related to this code or the insolvency proceedings. For example, liquidation. Now liquidation is that process where the assets of that particular insolvent or bankrupt company or individual are sold off to pay the amount of loan, okay, or amount of debt. This is called as liquidation process. This is called as liquidation process. What is resolution? Resolution is that suppose I am a person and I have been declared as bankrupt, or suppose there is company and company is declared bankrupt. However, there is scope that the company in near future may repay that loan, and there is need of restructuring of that loan. There is need of restructuring of that debt. And if suppose, let's say some of the assets of that company are sold off and some time period is given to the company may repay that amount. So such kind of resolution by negotiation between the debtor and creditor, facilitated by the particular person, expert, or any platform, this is called as resolution, or resolution plan is given there. Okay, and suppose that resolution plan does not work, then the liquidation proceeds. The resolution, if fails, then liquidation process proceeds. Okay, have you understood this? Now, who is debtor and who is creditor? Generally, the financial creditors are banks or financial institutions, or even let's say microfinance entities also. Okay, and debtors are basically those companies or persons who are borrowing from the creditors. Okay, they borrow huge amount of loan for their business purpose, for the investment in the business, for expanding their business activities, and they borrow, and we can say that these creditors provide for a certain time window to repay that loans. Okay, so all these things are there. When the particular person or company is not able to pay back and defaults on repayment, then what will happen? There will be insolvency applied by the creditors here. Okay, so how this particular process it goes on? Under this IBC, there are different procedures, institutions that are set up. For example, first of all, adjudicating authority. Adjudicating authority. There are two adjudicating authorities under IBC. Remember this. First, there is National Company Law Tribunal, and second, the specific tribunal, or we can say that the name of the tribunal is Debt Recovery Tribunal. Debt Recovery Tribunal. Now, the companies, corporates and individuals who can, let's say, apply for or undergo insolvency proceedings under these two adjudicatory authorities. First of all, NCLT, here the large corporates, when I say corporates, companies we are talking about, and with, let's say, limited liability companies, and here individual proprietors and companies with unlimited liability. This is important for prelims also. Okay, nowadays UPSC asks such kind of question in prelims also. You need to be aware about factual information about certain institutional setups. Now, adjudicating authorities are, we can say, some kind of judicial angle is there. So this particular setup in under IBC code, it talks about separation of judiciary and we can say that executive authorities. So the responsibilities of adjudication are separated from the proceedings, the day-to-day proceedings for the resolution plan. Okay, so this is very important. and now because of this separation there will be less amount of time taken. Second thing you should be aware about after understanding adjudicating authority, the second important concern, we can say that, not concern, there is committee of creditors. Committee of creditors. This committee of creditors is very important in terms of approving the resolution plan. Okay, we know the creditors. Suppose I am the company. I will not only borrow from one bank. I will borrow from 3-4 banks. They are the creditors now. And suppose I am the defaulter. I go bankrupt. What will happen? These all creditors together will sue me. Okay. So basically there will be formation of committee of creditors of all these creditors together. And when this committee of creditors approve a plan with vote of more than 66%, then that resolution plan is approved. If let's say this committee of creditors is not approving this amount of votes, okay, then that resolution plan is not approved. Okay, this is the significance in the proceedings here. Next is insolvency professionals. Now here the role of experts, insolvency professionals. That means these are intermediaries. They are brokering between two important stakeholders here, debtor and creditor. Okay, so it is bringing these two on the same platform and intermediating between them. Okay, आपको ये सही लगता है, आपको सही लगता है, नहीं लगता है, आप इसको change करिए. Okay, so basically the resolution plan is negotiated with the help of this professional. He is having some expertise in that. Okay, so these insolvency professionals are appointed by one authority. This authority acts as an umpire. Okay, so which is that authority? Insolvency and Bankruptcy Board of India. Insolvency and Bankruptcy Board of India, IBBI. Okay, so this is important institution which ensures that no one particular player is, let's say, violating the rules that are placed in. Okay, it is kind of umpiring, right? So the resolution plan should not be, we can say that, beneficial to the creditors, or it should not be directly affecting the debtors also. So justice is ensured, equity and fairness is ensured in the resolution process. Okay, this is the role of IBBI. Now the last one is the financial creditors and operational creditors. Okay, the financial creditors, FCs and OCs. Now what is the difference between these two types of creditors? Financial creditors are large creditors who lend to the promoters or debtors. Okay, so these are largely banks or large financial institutions, while operational creditors are not providing the credit in terms of cash amount or let's say monetary aspect. Rather, they are providing goods and services. Largely these operating creditors are MSMEs. Suppose I am having large manufacturing company. I will be needing some small goods to manufacture my product or good that is produced in my company. So these small MSMEs are providing these small goods and services, but they are not directly providing those services without any credit. First they will provide the goods, then I will pay them. So some amount of goods and services are already used by my company. I need to pay them back. Okay, this is how you should understand these OCs here, operational creditors. While these financial creditors, they are having huge amount of money that is credited to the promoter here, and that is in long term. The long term loans are given. This is short term. Operational creditors, short term, let's say goods and services is given, you are paying, let's say after providing these goods and services, let's say 1 month, 2 month, 3 month, or maximum 6 months. But here for financial creditors, we can say that long term loans are given. Okay, and who are the promoters? Promoters are basically the company owners, and these are investing in the capital expansion of the company and its working. Okay, for that purpose they are borrowing from the financial creditors as well as operational creditors. Have you understood all these aspects related to IBC? Now let us go on and further understand how this process works. The working of IBC. This topic is very important, working of IBC. So what happens is, first we will draw a flow chart here. Yes, first of all, what will happen? The creditor applies with adjudicating authority for resolution process, right? So application with adjudicating authority. So creditor, or we can say that insolvent, either of them can apply for resolution process to the adjudicating authority. Then adjudicating authority appoints insolvency professional. Then insolvency professional prepares resolution plan, right? This resolution plan is put before committee of creditors, put before committee of creditors. Now there are two chances. If approved, by COC, committee of creditors, then we can say that resolution continues or proceeds. But if not approved, if approved by the vote of more than 66%, then the resolution happens. And if not approved, it further goes on to the liquidation process, selling of its assets for repaying of the loan, liquidation process. This is how simply we need to understand the IBC proceedings that are happening. Okay, now yes, so now you will understand the benefits, features and benefits of this insolvency and bankruptcy code. First thing, you should understand the comprehensive nature of this plan or code. It takes into consideration all aspects related to insolvency proceedings. Okay, insolvency and bankruptcy proceedings. So comprehensive nature of this code is, first of all, you should understand benefits, comprehensive, second thing is that it is reducing time and cost, therefore we will say that it is much efficient. Okay, so in terms of time, basically it has reduced a significant amount of time. Earlier there used to be more than 3 years for completing the insolvency proceedings. Now let's say within one and 1.5 year, with the average time period for solving these proceedings or the problems here. Okay, the third thing that it promotes creditor controlled insolvency proceedings rather than, we can say that, advantageous to the debtors, okay, or willful defaulters. This is how it has changed the nature of insolvency proceedings. At the same time, it has also reduced the business failures. How it has reduced the business failures? It has reduced the business failures because the businesses are more inclined to resolve rather than declaring oneself bankrupt. Okay, you should be aware about this. Earlier there were many such willful defaulters, and they used to let's say take advantage of loopholes in this legal procedures, right? Large capitalists and those corporations, they used to take the advantage of loopholes. But now, as the creditors are much in control here, there is always chances of liquidation, and therefore there is reduced business failures. The corporates are much more diligent in repaying their loans now. They are much more concerned about that. There is a less number of willful defaulters. At the same time, it has helped, we can say, genuine defaulters also. That means it has simplified the entry and exit of businesses. This is very good thing in improving the business environment or promoting the entrepreneurship. Suppose I want to start a business and I have very good idea and I start that business, but due to unknown factors, due to some business factors, my business fails. My business fails and I am not able to, let's say, carry out that business anymore. I need to go out, exit that business. I need quick resolution. Okay, either that can be resolution, either that can be liquidation, but that should be quick, okay, in less amount of time, and this can be done through the IBC, reduced amount of time. So entry and exit, so it is helping people to take more and more risk in the business, right? In this manner, you should talk about the advantages. Now, what are the problems that are highlighted by the Parliamentary Committee report? Recently, Parliamentary Committee, Standing Committee on Finance has submitted the report. This was also one of the context in taking this particular topic here in ED lectures. One was there was amendment to this code, and this second one, the Parliamentary Committee report was submitted on the IBC, and it has said that first thing, the original objectives are not followed and it has deviated from it. From original objectives. Okay, so we can understand that this has reduced some kind of time period, but it has also resulted into many such amendments. For example, the number of amendments. In last 5 years, this code has been amended 6 times. In last 5 years, it has been amended 6 times. That means there are loopholes. That means there are loopholes, and whenever, let's say, some companies find the loopholes, take advantage of it, then the government wakes up with the startled manner, and they say that no, okay, we have to plug this loophole, and suddenly there will be amendment to this. Okay, this is how again knee-jerk approach is used here. Though we can understand it is a positive step in insolvency proceedings, further we need to work upon it. Okay, then you can also talk about the vacancies in adjudicating authority, vacancies in National Company Law Tribunal. Recently this was in news. Okay, for example, here in NCLT, more than half strength is vacant, including its president or chairman, the head of the body. So it is lying vacant, and when we are not having such kind of, let's say, strength, then how number of proceedings will be resolved within the stipulated amount of time? The original objective here was to improve the efficiency. It is not being followed. At the same time, concern related to we can say resolution professionals or insolvency professionals. So more and more amateur insolvency professionals are appointed, and they are not, let's say, resulting into more effective resolution plans. It is delaying the resolution plans because of this. Therefore, more experts are required. At the same time, regulation of these insolvency professionals is required on the line of CA. So, how there is one, let's say, regulatory, self-regulatory body for CAs in the country, a similar manner, there is need of such institutional structure related to insolvency professionals in the country. Okay, so as to have the appropriate standards, benchmarks for these professionals here. Right. So in this manner we should understand. If we are talking about one specific case study is mentioned in that article, the write-up regarding that company proceedings, positive case study success story is mentioned about Essar Steel. How that resolution of Essar Steel by, under IBC, and how it is taken over by ArcelorMittal, and it has led to not only repaying the debt but also helping expand its working. Okay, so it has also helped the workers, employers, employees in the company. In this manner, it has helped all the stakeholders. So resolution is helping to reduce the NPAs. Major aspect you should talk about here. Reduction in NPAs happened in last 2-3 years. By 2019, there was significant reduction in NPAs in the important banks, non-performing assets. Okay, so these positives, these concerns you should mention here. At the same time, the way forward simultaneously for these problems is mentioned in this report. Here it deviated from the original objective. Here you can talk about whatever the loopholes are there in IBC, they should be plugged in terms of institutional structure or the procedures or the processes. So you can talk in this manner. So reforms are required, legal reforms in terms of institution and the procedures. Second, the number of amendments, knee-jerk approach should not be there. The comprehensive reforms should be required. Then filling up of these, let's say, judicial appointments in this tribunal. Already this problem is going on. This is highlighted by recently CJI, Chief Justice of India, vacancies in tribunals. We have learned this in the Hindu analysis. We had this follow up there, right? So the government should fill up this post at the earliest, and so that there is early resolution of these insolvency cases. And here we talked about this, a similar kind of body that is there, self-regulatory body like CAs. There should be similar kind of body should be created for insolvency professionals. Any question regarding IBC?
Sir,
Yes, tell
if
me.
any company has been shifted their funds to, if any company has been taken loan from these different types of banks, sir, but they are operated sometime, but they shifted their funds to another purpose without showing any proper evidence, whether it will come by insolvency code or money laundering case, sir.
Try to understand. Money laundering is different case completely. Legal structure is legal procedures and legal setup is different. Money laundering here we should understand that the black money is entering into the formal economy or white money, so that we call it as money laundering aspect. Okay, here all the transactions are happening as a white money when we are talking about IBC here. Okay, so the money laundering aspect is a criminal aspect. Try to understand. This is not the criminal aspect. We are decriminalizing the defaulters. We are reducing the pressure on the entrepreneurs so that they exit from the business in appropriate manner in less amount of time. Okay, we want to promote the ease of doing business. This IBC has helped in improving our ranking in ease of business, doing business. What is the recent ranking? In 2020 there was 63. India has improved to 63 ranking in this ease of doing business, and this has played a very important role. Okay.
Contact us to avail the combo offer of General Studies and Public Administration optional with 20% discount.